This punctuation lesson is all about the slash symbol. So the slash, as we can see here from bottom left to top right, are sometimes called forward slashes, and we do this to avoid confusion with the backslash, which we see here going from bottom left to top right, which is really only used in the context of computers. You might often see the slash referred to as a virgule. We have several places we can use the slash. One is in place of the word or. We can also use them in place of the word per when we're talking about rates. And we use slashes to display dates. We also use slashes when we're writing fractions. And we also use them when we're displaying and writing abbreviated date ranges. Slashes are useful when writing certain abbreviations, and lastly, we can use them when writing poetry in a specific form. If we look at some examples of where slashes are used to replace the word or. So we could write, each applicant must include his or her CV, and this would be perfectly valid and legitimate. But we could also write it a slightly bit abbreviated. Instead of the word or, we would put a slash, as we can see here. Now we have several options of how we would read this. We could read it as each applicant must include his or her CV. Or we can say each applicant must include his/her CV or his/her CV. It's a personal preference, up to you. Or we could have your parent or guardian must sign the consent form. And again, we can put your parent/guardian or your parent or guardian or your parent/guardian must sign the consent form. And both variations are equally as valid and understandable. We can also use a slash to replace the word per when we're talking about rates and ratios. We could write the price is $20 per item. Or we can write it in an abbreviated form, the price is $20 per item. And even though we write it with a slash, we still, when we read it, we say $20 per item. Now it's only in the written form that we abbreviate it. Or we could write, you can fit 25 blocks per square meter. Now we can abbreviate this a little bit more, because the square meter we can abbreviate to M with a superscript 2 and write the whole thing as you can fit 25 blocks per square meter. It's only the written form that changes. When you speak the sentence, it's the same. We use slashes when we're displaying dates. The meeting is scheduled for 23rd of the 7th, or 23-7. And the UK, we put the day, and then the month, and then the year, as in she was born on 17th of the 3rd, 1992, so 17th of March. But in the US, they put the month, then the day, and then the year. So the same information, she was born on the 17th of March, 1992, for an American format would be written as we see here, 3/17/1992. And normally it's clear if the day is greater than 12. But we have here, we were on holiday from 3/4/2018. How do we read this if we don't know the format? It's either the 3rd of April or the 4th of March, and it makes a difference. If in doubt, ask the author. And we use slashes when we're writing fractions. So 1/2 is written as 1/2 or 1/2. 3/4 would be written as 3/4 or 3/4. So in a sentence, we would say or write, I'm nearly halfway through my book. You ate 3/4 of the cake. And when we're writing date ranges, we can abbreviate them with the use of slashes. Now, if the date range is greater than 2 years, we normally use dashes. And often in sports, we talk about the 2008-09 season was decided well before the last game. So we're talking about the season that started in 2008 and finished in 2009. And when we write it, we abbreviate it as we can see here. Well, they were at university together in the 1985-86 academic year. As we said, if the date range is greater than 2 years, we would write they were at university together between 1985 to 1989, and we'd write it like this as opposed to a slash. We also use slashes for certain common abbreviations. We don't normally do this in formal writing, but you can certainly use it in informal writing. So you might say, I haven't seen a B/W TV for a long time. In this case, B/W is the abbreviation for black and white, as all TVs these days are colour. A formal situation where it is acceptable to use a slash is, in this example, please send the package to the company address C/O Paul Brown, and here the C/O stands for care of. So when the parcel arrives, it'll be addressed to the company and it will say C/O Paul Brown, and the people in the company know that this package is meant for this employee. We say the shop is open 24/7. And again, 24/7 is a very common abbreviation, meaning 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The last place where we commonly use slashes is when we're writing poetry. So the normal written form for poetry looks something like this. Roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you. And we have one part per line written in quite sort of a narrow form, but we might want to save a bit of space and write the whole thing as a normal line of text, and we would use slashes here to show the line breaks. So the same little cheesy poem up there could be written in one line, roses are red, slash, violets are blue, slash, sugar is sweet, slash, and so are you. Now, obviously, when you're reading this out, you wouldn't say the word slash each time. I've just emphasized it to show where they come. And you can often use this to write sort of short poems in a one-liner. Some people even put double slashes in between. It's a personal preference thing.